was always the Jags.
It's always the Jags. It's always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
Welcome into Always the Jags, your number one podcast for everything Jacksonville, everything Jaguars, everything Duval. The Jaguars, the Jacksonville Jaguars, have rightfully claimed their spot atop the division after thrashing the Colts at Everbank Field. I was there for that performance, and I will say one thing, it was gross. The stadium itself. Shad Khan, for the love of God, build a stadium with a dome. Just put the dome right over it, because oh my God, in the rain, it was pretty disgusting. But it was worth it. You know, it was also cold as frick because we were all wet. I was just wearing a hoodie that got soaked, and then when the wind blew. So not one of the most funs I've been in, like, environment-wise, but as far as watching the Jaguars get another win, it was excellent. Let's talk a little bit about this game. I mean, it was like, what is there really to say? Everything is firing on all cylinders for us right now. And Jaguars fans don't have a lot of history of that. We do not. I talked about it in another video, and I'll go into it later when I talk about Trevor Lawrence, but we don't have a great history with that. Liam Coen should absolutely be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. And if you're looking at the other candidates, he's had more injuries to deal with than Kyle Shanahan, which is the only reason why Kyle Shanahan is in there. And he's had more injuries to deal with than Mike Vrabel. And he's also the first time he's done it. Mike Vrabel has been a head coach before. Liam Coen hasn't. So I think that already gives him a leg up for how successful the Jaguars have been compared to Mike Vrabel. And then I think his only real competition is Ben Johnson. And if the Bears and the Jags played right now, I don't really know who would win because both teams have completely been transformed by their new head coaches. But Liam Coen should be in the conversation, right? And obviously he would get every Jaguars player vote. And this was just a complete all-around performance by our team. It was just a complete all-around performance. And the game probably looks different and probably is closer if Daniel Jones is in. I'll say that because he had one really long drive where he was it was a drive, not gonna say he looked like Peyton Manning, but it was a drive similar to the kind of drives that Peyton Manning did. Methodical, 10, 12, 7, 10, 12, just completing passes left and right, left and right, left and right, and they moved all the way down the field for a touchdown, which proved to be one of the only ones the Colts would score on the day. Because then, well, first of all, the first play from scrimmage, Devin Lloyd is now leading the NFL in interceptions for linebackers when he got his pick of Daniel Jones on the very first play from scrimmage. And especially on a cold, rainy day, I'm surprised from both teams why they threw the ball so much. And, like, it wasn't raining at first, but at the very beginning, like, the Colts just came out throwing, and Devin Lloyd picked one off. And then we kind of came out throwing. We ran the ball a little bit, and Travis Etienne had some nice runs, but I would say it was overall more of a passing game than it was a run game. And I don't know if that was Liam Coen wanting Trevor to take the next step up in this offense after what he did to the Titans, and Trevor Lawrence did. But I was very surprised by that aspect of this game, that Jonathan Taylor, I mean, we held him we only held him to 74 yards. So our run defense is still proving it's the best in the NFL. We had the best rushing attack with the best running back in the NFL versus the best run defense, unstoppable force versus an immovable object. The immovable object won. Okay, holding Jonathan Taylor to 74 yards is a win on any day. Any day. And I think Shane Steichen, again, he started using the pass, and Daniel Jones was kind of carving up our secondary. We were letting a lot of guys get in breakers and things like that, just short passes, and next thing you know, they were in the end zone. So that's something that I think Anthony Campanile will watch for, and I think he was able to adjust as the game went on, play a little tighter, play a little more press man instead of zone, because they just didn't want to get beat deep, but the Colts were content with taking everything underneath and just marching down the field. But even after that, and then Daniel Jones, of course, went out, and Riley Leonard comes in, and from there, I mean, the wind out of the sails of the Colts. Riley Leonard played well within the system and kept doing what Shane Steichen was asking him, but he's just not Daniel Jones. And even Daniel Jones isn't Daniel Jones because his fibula is hurt. So he can't step on his foot the way he wants to. And I think the passing game reflected that. Because for a deep shots, you really got to be able to step in the pocket, set your feet, and air that thing out. And I think Shane Steichen was playing in a way that he knew that Daniel Jones couldn't do that. And it felt like Anthony Campanelli was playing for the deep shot on that first drive to make sure they didn't get one. But it's like, I don't think Daniel Jones could have hit it anyway. You know what I mean? But he made adjustments. Man, if he gets taken by another team, I will be so sad for them to be their head coach. I mean, a Jaguars assistant hasn't gone to be on to become a head coach in a very, very, very long time. I don't know if it's ever happened. At least not in my time, not my lifetime that I can think of. So the Jaguars, most of the credit, I think Grant Udinski will probably be here for a while because most of the credit for this offense is going to end up going to Liam Coen the same way that Andy Reid, most of the credit for that offense goes to Andy Reid instead of Eric Bieniemy, right? So like you're all it's like even the 49ers out in for Kyle Shanahan, whoever the offensive coordinator is, the offensive credit still ends up going to Shanahan. So most of the time, coordinators in that roles don't end up becoming head coaches. But Liam Coen completely backed off. We heard about it in reports, and he wanted to be involved in the defense, but recently he spent more time in the offense, more time trying to make sure Trevor's involved in it, and just let Campanelli handle it himself. And again, whatever Campanelli did to turn Devin Lloyd into a top 5 linebacker, I mean, the dude should be a lock for the Pro Bowl. He came back from injury and hasn't missed a step. And so, and like, I think that's the craziest thing about this team because it's like we have more injuries this year to core pivotal players than we did last year, probably last 2 years combined. But last year when we started having injuries, we wilted. 2023, when we started having injuries, we wilted. Injuries along the offensive line. This year, Cole Van Lannon has stepped in. He's playing better than Walker Little. I think Walker Little lost the starting job. I think Cole Van Lannon's going to start left tackle as he should for the rest of the year. And now that's another tough decision for James Gladstone because Cole Van Lannon's agent's going to be like, well, you got to pay him as a starter if you want him to stick around. And I don't know if James Gladstone's going to want to do that. And then we've got 2 guys that are making really good money with Patrick McCarry and Walker Little. What do we do? Are we going to be able to trade them and give Cole Van Lannon the contract he needs? I don't know if we'll be able to trade them in the offseason. I don't even know if you want to do that to deplete your offensive line that you built up so well to have depth this season when we've had guys go out. But again, you look at the way this Jaguars team is playing. We put up 20, I guess technically not 29 points, but like look at the way the Chiefs wilted against the Texans. Could only put up 10 points at home. We went into the Texans stadium without Brian Thomas Jr., without Travis Hunter, and without Diami Brown, our top 3 receivers, and we dropped 21 points on them. We were missing other guys too. I don't think we had Devin Lloyd for that game. I can't remember. But we were missing other guys as well. I don't remember if Trevor Walker was in there as well. I think we were at least missing Jordan Lewis. So, again, like to say that we've had the best performance against the best defense in the league out of any team in the league this year is not an understatement in their stadium. But of course, the Texans are now hot on our heels with their thrashing of the Chiefs, or with them taking down the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. But yeah, getting back into this game, it's just like this is the Trevor that we've been waiting for. This is the Trevor that we wanted to see. And Jaguars have known he had this ability because he flashed it. And I think we'll get into that in just a little bit. It's just it was a very dominant performance. And I think there was a lot of challenges that Liam Coen could have made that he didn't end up making. Like that Bashal Tutin fumble. I don't think there was a fumble unless Liam Coen had an angle where his butt didn't hit the ground, but it looked like he was clearly on the ground and the ball slipped out in the rainy weather. And he didn't end up playing for the rest of the game after that. I think he might have been a little banged up. But whether or not that's a fumble, I think Travis Etienne has proven that we can't let him go. The nucleus is Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and Brian Thomas Jr. Bashal Tutin is great. We are going to keep him. LaQuint Allen is great. But let's do a thunder and lightning combo, right? Like, I think we need both guys. And I think LaQuint Allen, amazing special teams player, great at picking up the blitz on third down, and he can still kind of evolve into the scat back role. But even if you only want Travis Etienne, and it's probably got to be at least a 3-year deal with maybe an out in year 3. But I think you give Travis Etienne the James Cook deal, do it for 3 years, same amount of money per year, 12 million. I think that's a happy comp, right? Um, I was really surprised that Greg Newsome interception went to the Colts, went to the Jags, because usually on offense ties, usually on a 50-50 ball where two people catch it, offense and defense at the same time, 50-50 goes to the offense. But we'll take it because that fumble wasn't really a fumble, so you made up for it with this 50-50 ball that ended up going to us. Once the game was 31-13, it seemed like it was out of hand. And then once we got that safety on Riley Leonard, that's when me and my wife left because it was raining. It was time to get out of there. And we were able to beat a lot of the traffic getting back home. And I was amazed, like, when I compared to me going to the Titans game and compared to me going to the Jaguars game, like, I stayed at the Titans game until the very end. I didn't leave, even though it was a blowout. I never left until it was at the very end. So I was leaving with everybody else. I was in and out of there in like 10 minutes, just leaving the stadium. It wasn't very hard to get from the stadium. Like, there was barely any traffic. But like the Jaguars game, I don't know if it's just the way the city is built or how, but the traffic and congestion coming in and out of the game is just so bad. And I hope they get a way to figure that out. Or it might just be, again, there's more people in Jacksonville than there are in Nashville. It's a bigger city. People don't think about that a whole lot, but Nashville has barely over 500,000. Jacksonville is inching close to 1 million people. So it could be that, other people driving around the stadium may not be coming to and from the games, but we still had a very healthy turnout for a game that we realized it was going to be raining pretty hard, and it did rain pretty hard while we were there. A lot of fans left at halftime that felt like it was in hand, but just being there made me feel like, I was able to take part and be a part of the victory that we were able to get. So shout out to everybody who showed up in the rain, no matter what, no matter the inclement weather and all that mess, and still came out there to support our Jaguars. And yeah, that's probably a huge part of why we won. And I will be at the Jets game because I want to see us win. And we're not going to have another pivotal matchup like we did. But like, if you look at our season, the Texans game was the litmus test. That was the game that tested our team because we weren't really expected to, but we had the opportunity to do something incredible, which is just deliver a knockout blow to the Texans. And that's what we ended up doing to the Colts just now. Like, this game was the knockout blow to the Colts, mainly because Daniel Jones got hurt. But even if Daniel Jones was able to play, I still think the Jaguars win. And if Daniel Jones had been able to play, I think people are questioning, can the Colts beat the Seahawks, 49ers? Can they even beat the Jaguars again and the Texans again? And the Colts would have needed to go, assuming they lost to us, they would have been 8-5. They would have needed to go 2-4 in that last stretch in order to have a chance of making the playoffs. Because at 10-7, they don't get in. So this was the knockout blow that we thought we were going to deliver to the Texans, and we ended up delivering to the Colts. So either way, it's nice to knock out a division rival out of the mix. It would have been juicier if we knocked out the Texans because they've been more of a thorn in our side during the recent years. But I'm in a chat with a bunch of Jaguars fans from the area, and there's one Colts fan in there. A bunch of sports fans from the area, and there's one Colts fan. Great guy, love him to death, but man, does he talk crap. And so it was a little more special for me this year because we got to be the Jaguars got to be the one to do it and shut him up because he likes to clown Jags fans. So great job answering all those questions. And Trevor, thank you for giving the Jaguars something to be happy about and something to be proud about when we go into work, when we go out in the community, when we talk to our friends, when people continue calling us a poverty franchise. Thank you. And let's talk about Trevor. Let's talk about the Trevor Lawrence experience, because throughout this year, people have described the Trevor Lawrence experience with his up and downs, right? Crazy godly throws, some interceptions, and the media and a lot of talking points on Jaguars.com has started to accept it as like, okay, this is just what you're going to get from Trevor Lawrence. And I think the Cardinals game was probably the biggest indication of that because he had some incredible throws, like when he had pressure in his face and delivered that touchdown to Jacoby Myers. And then he had some, I don't know what's going on, interceptions. In that 4-interception day, 2 of those I think were deflected, and that's why I think deflections should be a stat, but we'll that's another topic. 2 of those were just great plays by the defense, right? Getting your hand up and deflecting the ball. That's just great heads up play by Calais Campbell to force that pick right there. But 2 of those were just bad decisions. And I think, I don't know if Trevor heard people or Liam Coen heard that. Like, it kind of feels like Liam Coen sat Trevor Lawrence down and he said, this is what people are saying about you. And Trevor Lawrence after the game said, I'm never going to apologize for slinging it and getting us the win. We had a 4-0 turnover differential in that game against the Cardinals, and we still won. And here against the Colts, right, we had a 3-1 turnover differential because I think we got 3 turnovers if you count the safety, if I'm not sure, because there was a Devin Lloyd pick. Oh, no, we had it. Yeah, if you don't count the safety, we had 3 turnovers. So 2 interceptions and a fumble. And then we had 1 fumble ourselves. And we scored points off of all of those turnovers. And again, that's what you call complementary football. The defense gets you the ball back, and then the offense does its job, doesn't go 3 and out to force the defense back on there. The offense does its job, gets a drive, and gets points off of that. Thank you for the short field defense. Now let's pass it back to you to close this game out. That's complementary football in all 3 phases. Getting points off of your turnovers. Because we were a very turnover-heavy team. We were getting a lot of turnovers at the beginning of the season, but it felt like those turnovers were like the defense was using those turnovers to kind of stop their offense from driving rather than our offense wasn't always able to capitalize. And now it feels like Trevor Lawrence, Liam Coen, with our entire team back at full strength, were able to capitalize. Oh, don't forget, we didn't have Brenton Strange for that Texans game as well. Jumping back to that. But anyway, let's jump back into Trevor. So, clean day, no interceptions. He hasn't thrown a pick in the last 3 games, right? No, 2 games. 2 games. The games versus the Titans and the Colts have been his best games. And my point about like this game against the Colts, the Titans game, I feel like he won. Like, we don't win that game without him being on our team because they shut down the run. They stopped the run, and Trevor had to make plays with his arm, and he did consistently. This game, we're in the rain, we're in the elements, and the Colts did a pretty good job of stopping the run. Travis Etienne didn't have a crazy day, but he did get 2 touchdowns on the ground and had a long touchdown when, they finally got tired and kind of broke through on the levee, and he got that 21-yard touchdown. But it wasn't a phenomenal day for Travis Etienne. He wasn't gashing them for 45, big runs, blowing holes open in the run game. So in this game, and I'm surprised how much Liam Coen put on Trevor, and Trevor still came out and won it. We won this game because of Trevor Lawrence. This was Trevor Lawrence doing things that needed to be done and making it happen. 2 plays really stand out to me. Really, I guess 3 plays really stand out to me. The first play with Brian Thomas Jr.'s insane one-handed catch. What a gorgeous throw and catch on Charvarius Ward, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. He would be a number 1 cornerback he was a number 1 quarterback for the Colts, and he would be a number 1 cornerback on almost any team in the league. Almost any team in the league, right? Except for maybe the Broncos, where they got Pat Surtain, right? Charvarius Ward is good. And Brian Thomas Jr. gets his mojo back and snags that thing out of the air with 1 hand. And you know why that was impactful? It was on 3rd down. It was 3rd and 5. And it was pivotal because the game was still in reach for the Colts. I think we were only up, I think it was 14-7. And that snag allowed us to keep our foot on their neck and keep pushing and get into the end zone. Without that throw, we punt, the Colts can go down and tie it up. I can't remember if that was before or after the Daniel Jones injury, but that throw was incredible. And it was on 3rd down. And the fact that Lawrence trusts his guys to go make a play on a pivotal down, because again, that's a throw that you could make, you make it on 2nd down, right? Because you can take a shot and you'll have another chance after. But on 3rd down, we got to have it. Trevor Lawrence puts the ball into place where his receiver can get it, and he trusts him to make that play. And that's exactly what Brian Thomas Jr. did. That was reminiscent of the play that we saw versus the Chiefs. And what did I tell you was the key to fix Brian Thomas Jr.? Brian Thomas Jr. is a better version of Zay Jones. Trevor Lawrence had great chemistry with Zay Jones because he would take the top off the defense and he could throw the ball to him deep. That's Brian Thomas Jr. Your deep threat sometimes can be your number one wide receiver. There's different levels of number one wide receivers you can have. Your number one wide receiver can be your go-to guy, which just means when everybody seems like they're not open, he is. And you just throw it to him anyway. That's like A.J. Brown. That's contested catches. It doesn't matter where the ball is on the field. I'm going to throw it to you, and you're going to get it because you're the number one wide receiver, right? You have that ability to just go get it wherever it is on the field. Brian Thomas Jr. is not that. He's our field-stretching deep threat. He'll still be the wide receiver one because he'll be open a lot, and he'll probably get more yards than anybody on the team, right? But the way that, again, the Colts offense, you look at the way they function, Michael Pittman is kind of the wide receiver one, but I'm pretty sure Alec Pierce has more yards this year because he gets deeper. He's the deep threat. Brian Thomas Jr. is our deep threat. Let him thrive on the go routes. That's what he does best. And once you get his confidence up with those go routes, you saw him catch that ball in the middle of the field, concentrate, make the catch, and then got hit, and he was okay. Right. And I think that's why Jakobi Meyers has transformed the offense and what Liam Coen does, because Jakobi Meyers is our new Christian Kirk. He's doing all the things over the middle. He's the one, sure hands. Trevor can fire in a tight window. And, you know, when the play takes, like for a go route, it can take longer to develop. Sometimes we need Brian Thomas Jr. to run down the field for a little bit longer in order for that go route to develop and Trevor to launch it to him. With Jakobi Meyers, we don't always have that time, especially against the blitz, stuff like that. That's a guy Trevor can just throw it out right to and do the work over the middle, right? And still use that running routes from the slot to get deep like he did for that touchdown. That's what's transforming. And then the third slot, Austin Trammell and Tim Patrick played a great job today. A week after the horrendous play, or 2 weeks after the horrendous play, where he didn't get turned around, which I think might have cost him some playing time in the Titans game. But not having Parker Washington, he really stepped up because Parker was out today, where he just didn't turn around in the Cardinals game on a pass that was clearly designed to go to him and could have potentially iced the game and kept it from, well, I think we would have scored a touchdown there. And then the Cardinals would have had to score a touchdown instead of having to get a field goal. He really stepped up on this play. And again, it's two plays. The two plays that really stand out. The three plays that really stand out for Trevor. I told you about that third down pass to Brian Thomas Jr. The next one is the third down touchdown to Tim Patrick before the end of the half. Because that's another pivotal situation. We need points before the half to make it 21. I think it was to make it 21-7. We needed points. We had to have points. And Trevor worked his way out of a sack because a sack was the worst thing you could do because I don't know if we had any timeouts. I can't remember. But you can't take a sack there, and you can't dump it off. It's got to be because they can't get tackled in bounds. It's got to be touchdown or bust because the touchdown, it's got to be touchdown or bust. Trevor wiggles out, keeps running, keeps his eyes forward, and finds Tim Patrick in the corner. And Tim Patrick just sitting there waiting for him, sliding into perfect position to keep his body in bounds. And Trevor pinpoints it right on his body. And especially, and I feel like when Trevor Lawrence saw Jakobi Meyers drop that pass in the middle of the field, he made a more conscious effort to hit his players in the chest so they could catch it with their body in this kind of weather. And then you'll see it again in the third play that was pivotal by Trevor. And this was just the dagger to send the Colts back home. Because I think we already had a significant lead. It was either 28 or 28-17 or like 30, 31-10, 31-13 or 28-13. I can't remember the exact score. But again, third down. Very pivotal third down. I'm pretty sure it's third and long. And there's a blitz coming, an open guy, which Trevor recognizes, changes the play at the line of scrimmage, but he doesn't change anyone to block that guy. Instead, he rolls away from the pressure. So the guy's coming to him, and he spins around and rolls away from it and delivers a beautiful throw across his body to Tim Patrick, who hits him right in the belly, right in the gut, who's gotten downfield, and we get the perfect third down. That is all Trevor Lawrence. We don't do that without Trevor Lawrence being on the field. Those are plays that Trevor Lawrence made that got us to win the game. And that's what you pay a quarterback that much money for. And I mean, if he keeps playing like this, the contracts will look fine because there's two quarterbacks getting paid the same amount of money that Trevor Lawrence is getting paid. Guess which one is in the playoffs? Right? With Trevor Lawrence's contract, there's only two other quarterbacks in the NFL making either the same amount of money or more than what Trevor Lawrence is currently making. Tell me which one of those three are going to the playoffs. Out of the three highest paid quarterbacks in the league right now, who's going to the playoffs? Is it the Bengals? No. Is it the Cowboys? Probably not. After they lost to the Lions. Oh, right. It's Trevor Lawrence. The prince that was promised. I think that's the Trevor Lawrence experience. And I think we keep looking for comps in Trevor Lawrence's game. We keep like when he was first starting, we compared him a lot to Josh Allen. Josh Allen took probably about 3 seasons to get going. His 4th season was his breakout where like everybody was like, whoa, he can actually do this thing. You really got to compare Trevor more to Baker Mayfield. And that's why I think Trevor Lawrence should have a contract closer to what Baker Mayfield has. But that's neither here nor there. Trevor Lawrence is more similar to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, it wasn't until his 6th NFL season that he put it all together and was showing consistent high-level quarterback play. And ironically, Baker Mayfield went through it with some coaches, had a lot of different systems, a lot of different offensive coaches take over. And it wasn't until he got where he got with the Rams head coach that he was finally able to turn over a new leaf and watch him go. And if you look at the Buccaneers offense, like they kept rolling with Liam Coen in 2024 after Dave Canales went to Carolina. They haven't been as good this year without Liam Coen. Liam Coen is firing up his players and he's getting everybody to do everything right. And again, if I look at Trevor Lawrence, his projection might be closer to Baker Mayfield, right? Trevor Lawrence hasn't hit his 6th year yet. And now he's playing this good football in the back half of the season. Imagine how good it would be if Trevor had been playing like this all year. Just removing the mistakes. So he's had some great plays throughout the year that's been enabled us to even get to 9-4 in the first place. Next year could be a big year. This year is a big year. As we said, keep laughing all the way to Super Bowl. How do we stop the Jets that are coming to town? Go do to them what the Rams did to us. Go up by 3 scores, put your foot on their neck, and just run the ball out. And then let Trevor Lawrence take the 4th quarter off. That's it. Jets have no Sauce Gardner. Jets have no Quinnen Williams anymore. You run the ball through that defense. Throw it all over the yard. Go up by 3 scores. And the guys will check out because all those Jets are planning what they're doing in the offseason. There's no playoff plans for them. But as you can tell at the game against the Falcons, they still play. They still show up, right? And they're not just going to say, oh, okay, here's the win, guys. So we don't want to overlook it. And I love what Brenton Strange said. They asked him, hey, how are you guys going to stay motivated to beat the Jets? You know, isn't it going to be tough, you know, with them not playing for anything and you guys you're going to be heavily favored? Brenton Strange, he's like, oh, they beat us last year. He doesn't like that. He said they beat us last year. I need to come exercise some demons. Brenton Strange is going to play fired up. He's going to play angry. He doesn't like that we lost to them last year. And I love that, to have that kind of short-term memory and remember, oh, yeah, I did lose to them last year. And I think that interview is important for all the players to hear, too. Because if you ask, well, how are they going to stay motivated for this Jets game? Brenton Strange, revealing that in that interview, that's what Liam Coen can use throughout this whole off week of practice and on the field. They beat you last year. They think they're better than you. Are they? Prove them that they're not. Because they did beat you last year. So you look at the rest of this schedule and the year, it's going to be tough because even if the Jaguars, like, we're going to make the playoffs, right? But we want to win the division because what we don't want for all the teams that are going to be winning, obviously, January football is going to be very cold and very potentially snowy. And we'd much rather have the playoffs come through Everbank Stadium. But with Daniel Jones being out, Colts season is over. The Colts could potentially get swept by us and the Texans. So that could be another win, right? So if we do what we're supposed to do, handle business against the Jets, Titans, Colts now without their starting quarterback, don't get beat by another backup quarterback, right? That's the last demon we got to exercise this year. Go into Philly and go into Indy and drop the hammer. We would finish 12-5. Most of us had this as an 8-win. People call me crazy for having us as a 10-win season. When we beat the Jets, we'll hit 10 wins. So we go into there's a lot to still play for, obviously. But even if we go 12-5, if we're going to sweep the Colts, the Texans are definitely going to sweep the Colts when the Colts come to NRG Stadium for the last game of the year, which means the Texans will also be 12-5. And in that tiebreaker scenario, the Texans end up winning the division because the Chiefs didn't do what we needed them to do. That's why we needed to be Chiefs fans. Sunday night, I know Jags fans are happy to see the Chiefs lose, but we need to keep the Chiefs. We need the Chiefs to keep the Texans off our back because the only other team that can do it, I don't think the Cardinals are going to do it. It'd be great if they did, but they're not going to. Chargers look much better, and I'm very surprised they beat the Eagles. So that's going to be interesting. But hopefully the Chargers can too. But the way the whole thing is shaping up, the Texans and the Chiefs can make the playoffs, and we could end up going from the 3 seed to the 6 seed. If now, in some, that makes the Denver game even more pivotal because Liam will be telling his team again, hey, we want the playoffs to go through Everbank, right? Go into Denver and beat the Broncos. And they might look tough. The Colts did it. Why can't you? Chargers did it. Look what you did to the Chargers. Why can't you go beat the Broncos? Broncos have an incredible defense, right? And I think incredible defenses are still going to give this offense trouble. The Colts defense are missing a lot of stars, right? So that's going to be a tough test for sure. But if we're able to do that 13-4, and now you're looking at the 2 seed potentially because the Texans can't go 13-4, but we can. So that's the only way to keep the Texans off our back. Keep winning. And you keep them off your back. So that's what the Jaguars are going to have to do. So now this Broncos game looms as very important for whether we want to really take the division or not. And again, I think it could be close, and I think it could come down to 1 or 2 plays. But we weren't supposed to beat the 49ers. We weren't supposed to beat the Chiefs. We weren't supposed to beat the Texans this year. There's a lot of teams that we beat that we weren't supposed to beat. Let's add the Broncos to that list. But first, we got to take care of the Jets. Dispatch the Jets, go into Mile High, get it done, and then come back home. And then I think after Mile High, we go to Indy and then come back home to victory for the season. And again, if we are able to do that and the Texans drop one or something and we're kind of locked in to wherever we at, maybe we can rest our starters versus the Titans for the last home game. We'll see. But first, we got to take care of business and take care of the Jets. So, and again, I'll leave you with this final thought. Trevor Lawrence has delivered us another winning season. He's delivered us 3 winning seasons in his 5 years. More often than not, he's delivered us a winning season. Right? If you throw out Urban Meyer, but again, you can't throw that out because that's part of the trajectory. He's had some good days. He's had some off days. We win games with him. We win more games with him. We have more winning seasons with him. My first football game was in 2006 when I watched the Colts take on the Bears, and I was 7 for the Super Bowl. After that year, I became a Jaguars fan. Before I understood divisions and everything and all of that stuff, I was a Jaguars fan, probably starting around then. We didn't have a winning season until 2017. I went 10 years as a child. I went from 7 all the way to when I graduated high school without experiencing a single winning season for the Jaguars. And even when we did get that winning season, we had 10 wins, which at the time meant you had like, I can't remember how many losses. I think we went 10-6, right? And so we were one loss away from being 9-7. So like, it was a good year, but still not even close. Like, we're about to tie that next week when we go play the Jets and get 10 wins. So, and then if you count all the way from 2017 to 2021, 4 more years, one winning season in almost 15 years. 1 out of 15. 1 out of 15. 1 out of 15. Since Trevor Lawrence has been drafted, we've had 3 out of 5. So next time someone tells you that Trevor is a bust, and I'm not ready to crown him the best quarterback or even the long-term answer, I think he's the answer. I like him. He's our quarterback. But if you ask me, is Trevor Lawrence a bust? I'm going to tell you, since before we drafted him, we had one winning season. One winning season. Since we've drafted him, we've had 3 out of the 5 years he's been playing with us. I'll take it. I'm sorry. I will take that, right? Like, rebuilding a culture can take time, right? And maybe one day another quarterback will come along. But if Trevor keeps playing the way he did against the Titans and the Colts, there won't be another quarterback. It will be Trevor Lawrence for a very long time. And whether or not we end up running the division or what, we now have more winning seasons than we have losing seasons since he's been in the league. And this is supposed to be another losing season while Liam Coen gets everything together. Instead, he's blowing it out of the park. I think that's a testament to also bringing in Tony Baselli and James Gladstone, who've done a great job in the back office making. I mean, look at De'Ami Brown. I mean, he's fallen so far off the depth chart because it was assigned by James Gladstone, but he's not afraid to continue to make the roster better and put guys in better positions. They're not just throwing him out there. They're like, hey, if Tim Patrick's playing better, Tim Patrick is going to go out there. Parker Washington is playing better. Parker Washington's going to go out there. So, I said all that to say, like, again, if you want to talk the bus talk, I get it. For a lot of other teams, this wouldn't be good enough. Because during that stretch where we barely had any winning seasons, the Giants went to 2 Super Bowls. Maybe this would be better if it was like the Jets or the Browns, right? Like, maybe they're one of those franchises. But again, that was our company for 10 years. The Jets and the Browns, the doldrums, the basements of the NFL. Trevor Lawrence has at least lifted us to average. We went from bottom poverty franchise team. Trevor Lawrence has lifted us to at least average in the NFL. Because if you have more winning seasons than losing seasons, you're at least an average team. That's what we want. That's what we needed. So, let me know your thoughts on this game, on Trevor Lawrence, and all of it. And don't ever forget, it was always Thank you so much for watching Always the Jags. Make sure you like and subscribe down below. Check out some of these other videos that I'm sure you'll be interested in as we chase Duval greatness. Thank you for joining us again, and until next time.